Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take our seats. Please, if you can take your seats. Okay, thank you so much for, I hope everyone had an enjoyable meal. All right. We're going to raffle off about $100 here. See if I get everybody's attention now. See if I can get everybody's attention now, right? All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, just really quick, if I can get your attention. As always, my staff is the one that makes me a better CEO and president, and they came over and counseled me that I omitted a couple of general officers in the crowd. So I'd like to, first of all, apologize for that. Major General Reventlow, sir, Commanding General of Logistics Command. So, thank you. And Brigadier General Kevin Collins, sir, all the way from Okinawa, CG of 3rd MLG. So thank you. Marta, you were a vice president. Now you're a director. Okay. Thank you for counseling me tonight. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our MC for the evening, Major Sam Fitzmaurice.
Generals, senior executives, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Major Sam Fitzmaurice, and I'm the MC for the awards half of the night tonight. Tonight, we're going to recognize the accomplishments. I am not Jerry Griffin. We can actually get that out of the way right now. So I think, 5 or 6 decades, Jerry Griffin's been MC in this event. I know I've got big shoes to fill. Sir, where are you? Where is Mr. Griffin? There he is, straight back. Thanks, Jerry. So tonight we're going to recognize the accomplishments of our Marines, civilians, sailors, units, installations across the entire Marine Corps installations and logistics enterprise. If you want to learn more about these awards and the awardees as we're going through, there's a QR code towards the back pamphlet that you can scan to read more about them. It's close to the sponsors, and the sponsorship does not imply DoD or Marine Corps endorsement of the sponsors.
It's illegal.
And once again, before we get started, can we get a round of applause, please, for MCA, Ms. Ann Mitchell, the band, and the color guard that was out here. This time, I'd like to introduce and invite to the stage the Deputy Commandant for Installations and Logistics, Lieutenant General Sklenka.
Jared, where are you? Hey, man, he did pretty good, huh? Those of y'all don't know, Jared and I go back Somalia, I think. Like 90, something? 1, 2, something like that. Yeah, I look out here, what a great crowd, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with y'all. And I got to tell you, it's really humbling to be up here with so many great leaders of, not just our Corps, but industry as well. We just finished our semi-annual Installations Logistics Board. I thought it went pretty well, but of course, the judgment's going to really be not just the ones who participate in it, but you guys. So hold us to task with that thing, because I think it was a worthy endeavor that we did. There's a couple of folks, though. I know that we had the Chuck Schroeder show a little bit ago, so I'm not going to go through the of folks that recognize, but there are some people that I do want to recognize. When I first MLG, my very first guest of honor for a birthday ball was retired Colonel Tom Mannion, the chairman emeritus, and most importantly, the co-founder, along with his bride, of the Travis Mannion Foundation. And his daughter, Ryan, who the CEO of the foundation and the driving force behind that wonderful organization. I got to and Ryan, I wanted to tell you this in public. there's no doubt in my mind that your mom would be extraordinarily proud of what you have forged with that fantastic organization, and that she and your dad founded. And when she gave you and entrusted you with the reins of leadership of the Travis Manning Foundation, she made a wise choice. So thank you for all that you're doing. And her daughter continues the tradition and is now a plebe at the United States Naval Academy. Of course, look, I have to thank my friend Chuck Schroede, the president, CEO of Marine Corps Association, and his crew. Man, you're a force of nature. Everywhere you are everywhere. And it's great to have you here, and I really appreciate it. But as I do it at all these events, I like to tell you, Chuck, thanks for all your service, both when you're in uniform and out of uniform. We are a much better Corps, much stronger Corps because of your service, and we're all eternally grateful. I know that I can't tell you how invaluable your mentorship, leadership, and friendship over the years. So thanks much. There's a bunch of other senior leaders out here that I know that we talked about. Rayman, General Adams. Those of you, we've heard a lot about the passing of the audit and how the second time around is even harder. But look, we did that because of you, man. So thank you. Your leadership was unbelievably instrumental in that. And I learned more I didn't get to this gig until September, and you guys were way down the field with that one. I learned more in these last 5 or 6 months watching you perform that, so thanks. There's a whole bunch of friends out there. It is like old home week. I see my fellow AFC East. It was bad enough, Dave, when we had to deal with the frickin' Patriots, but now it's the Bills, He's a Jets guy, I'm a Dolphins guy, and we're languishing. And was that you, Dennis? Because it's great to see General Dennis Kral, retired, former J6, smartest man. I'm looking around the room. There's a lot of smart people in here, but probably smart, at least when it comes to, and it has to do with cyber. So it's good to see you. Thanks for all you're doing. And then everybody else, the retired general officer, and really our industry leaders. And we all know about the purpose behind these dinners and how important they are for keeping the discussions going. And what I'm going to talk about today, really are 3 things. First and foremost, we're going to talk about the awardees a little bit. And I'm not going to give you the whole spiel because you've got it written in front of you. But it is important to know what a tremendous impact they've had on our mission. The second one is really, I'm going to talk about the strategic environment. And my comments are principally aimed at our industry partners, because I got to tell you, I was talking to some of you earlier today, the partnership between our military and industry is probably more vital today than at any other time in our nation's history since World War II. And I know that people make hyperbolic statements like that pretty regularly, but when I go through at least the world as I see the strategic picture, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. The requirement for us, military and industry, to be together tightly is, it's at its peak right now. And then, of course, I'll wrap things up with just how I see the future of our Corps' installations and logistics. But first and foremost, we're here not really to listen to me, but to recognize the superior performance of the award. Not only have these folks delivered sustained superior results, they've used their exceptionally creative minds, and they've done it in turning vision into tangible warfighting capabilities that our Marines use to gain and maintain that competitive advantage over our adversary. And we need that. Those folks, the buzz term of late seems to be lethality. Well, these are the folks who ensure the delivery of that lethality. And the superior performance is clearly evident in the individual and collective abilities, and that we're here to recognize that. We're going to hear about the impactful actions of Commander Warren, Captain Donatelli, Gunny Rogers, and Staff Sergeant Dixon. Ms. Clark, I think I saw you in here, ma'am, earlier. And, of course, Mr. George Berger. Their accomplishments, they reflect their leadership and their commitment and their expertise. And whether it's deploying and redeploying units, delivering logistics capability, or just making sure that our Marines, sailors, families all have what they need, their impact on the organization is they've enabled us to generate tempo all its own. That exceptional performance, we know it's essential. Chuck said it earlier, it's essential to the overarching organization success. So to the individual awardees, I want to thank you for your hard work and in keeping with our service's finest traditions. But we also get to recognize organizations as a whole. Some really great ones tonight. Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, Combat Logistics Battalion 15, the 2nd Force Storage Battalion, and Logistics Support Team Charlie from the 1st Raider Battalion. Awards for organizational excellence, they reflect the dedication and the commitment of an entire team, a team that's focused on shared vision, a unified culture of believers. And there's this collective inspiration that compels that team toward a unified success. And when all these elements come together, it's a beautiful thing to watch. And that said, to the awardees, well done, and we'll get to you here in just a few minutes. But I'm going to shift gears and talk to you about the strategic environment. Like many of you, I got this sense of urgency to make sure that our warfighters have everything they need to be successful, especially in the theater that our national leaders have identified as the most consequential theater, and that's the Indo-Pacific. Modern war against a peer adversary, that requires a degree of complete societal collaboration that we haven't required, and we haven't even experienced in well over 8 decades. Nobody in this room really understands. This is why I'm talking about the importance of the military and industrial partnership. My goal this evening is to highlight the current and pending strategic environment to all of you, but especially to the industry partners who are absolutely vital to our nation's ability to have a successful attainment of our strategic objectives. And understanding that strategic reality today and its impact on our way of life, it enables us, I think, to be more effective with our respective responsibilities. So, talk about threats. Our nation, we have many threats to our national interest. The ones that immediately come to mind are Russia, Iran, North Korea, and violent extremist organizations. Those 4, look, they will remain viable threats in their own respective ways. Those of you who know me know that I'm not talking about them tonight. There's one threat out there that is larger than any other, and that's the People's Republic of China. Over the past 2 decades, the Chinese military, and specifically their military machine, and in general, their overarching industrial capabilities have grown at an unprecedented pace, faster than any other nation since the end of the Second World War. Make no mistake, General Secretary Xi, and you'll hear some folks refer to him as President Xi. He's not a president. Presidents are elected. That guy wasn't elected to anything. He was selected. General Secretary Xi, he's clearly articulated his vision for the Chinese, and that's to supplant the United States as the global leader. His aspirations, though, he's not doing it out of the kindness of his heart. He doesn't have benign intentions. He yearns for Chinese dominance overall and fealty to China by all. I'm going to tell you, this guy's clock, it's ticking. His industry's on a wartime footing. They're producing weapons, ships, munitions, satellites, all manner of capabilities, and they're doing it at scale. This is an exaggeration. It's not hyperbole. I had a front row seat watching this in the last 5 years as the Deputy Commander and the Chief Strategist for the Indo-Pacific Command. And for the better part of the last 10 years, I watched from different vantage points as Xi galvanized and orchestrated this whole of society commitment by the Chinese Communist Party. And he did it in pursuit of replacing the United States and creating this world governed by what he calls socialism with Chinese characteristics. You've seen what socialism with Chinese characteristics looks like. Just look at Hong Kong. Look what's happening in Xinjiang. Xi is serious. The guy is committed, and he is focused. In the CCP, they seek to challenge us across every level and every domain. In the maritime domain, we're watching him. His combination of ships, his shipbuilding program, and his anti-ship missiles, he offers China the access to the global commons while denying others that same access, unless, of course, you abide by their rules. In the cyber domain, look, they're attacking our networks every single day. As I look around this room, this is added significance for us. We're logisticians, and most of our actions are conducted across unclassified networks that are particularly vulnerable to such attacks. In the space domain, he's making sure that the Chinese dominate that domain and deny playing up there. They've launched over 400 satellites in just the last couple of years, far more than any other nation. In the air domain, they've developed their own peer-level 5th-generation aircraft. They're on the cusp of fielding 6th-generation aircraft. These are capabilities that are complemented by a highly integrated air and missile defense system with both manned and unmanned capability. In the land domain, look, the Chinese continue to expand their field armies. They're accelerating the development of their rocket force while simultaneously conducting this massive expansion of their nuclear capabilities. You know, within the next 5 years, they're going to double their stocks. They're going to have over 1,000 nukes by the end of this decade. And they're not doing it for any other reason but to intimidate and to dominate. So it's pretty clear in my view, I think you can tell, our nation faces its greatest military threat probably since the Soviet Union. That to me is the benchmark militarily. But whereas that old Soviet threat was essentially confined to just the military domain, the Chinese, they pose a far, far more insidious threat. They've been able to harness substantial power across all elements of national influence, the diplomatic, information, military, and most critically, the economic realm. They're doing that, making them the most consequential overall threat, again, since that our nation has faced in over 8 decades. It's worth pointing out, though, a key difference between the World War II era and our current time. During the Second World War, our nation essentially outproduced, we outmanufactured, and we outdelivered every other nation combined. Things have changed. Today, we've watched the Chinese manufacturing base grow and outproduce us for more than a decade now. This offers a monumentally different challenge than what we were facing in World War II. The Chinese government-backed industries, well, they produce more cement, more steel, more ships than the rest of the world combined. This is a pretty impressive stat. Since 2001, their economy has grown by 1,200%. Ours has grown too by about, I think 154% was the last thing I saw. But put in real dollars, they've gained $16 billion. That's the oil that they're using for the engine that drives their military growth. The size and scale of the Chinese military capability has generated a threat that all but ignores the dilemma that we often face, quality versus quantity. They're going to have both. They're doing all they can to realize that vision. So I think we're clear that a conflict with the Chinese is going to stress our ability to sustain and distribute forces to a degree none of us currently in uniform have ever experienced. This is something way beyond what we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan. I think one of the obvious points that comes out is the advantage that they have in geographic proximity to some kind of a conflict in the Pacific theater. That place, those of you who have been out there know, that is a massive theater. It runs from the west coast of the United States to the west coast of western borders of India, call it from Hollywood to Bollywood, all the way from the Antarctic, all the way up to the Arctic in between. Distribution in that Pacific fight for us, we count it in days, weeks. These guys have the advantage of talking about it in hours. I don't call China a near peer. That's a term, I think, that's been used to characterize them. They are absolutely a peer, at least on most of the levels that matter. And that's one of the reasons why you'll never hear me use the often used term contested logistics. I don't use the phrase contested logistics because I think it's redundant. It's kind of like saying CAC card or ATM machine. Look, I know water's wet. Just like I know that in a modern fight against a peer, we're going to be operating in contested space. We don't talk about contested fires. We don't talk about contested maneuver. We talk about contested C2 or contested aviation. So why do we call out logistics differently? In the modern fight, contested logistics is simply operations conducted in contested spaces. It's the same contested space in which every other joint warfighting function is going to be conducted. This is not about semantics either. It's about acknowledging and understanding the real requirements of modern warfare. It's about forging a culture focused on warfighting, instilling that understanding that any true warfighter is also a logistician, and any logistician worth their salt understands warfighting. Our Corps and a joint force, they can't have it any other way. The contested space applies to all the warfighting functions. We're all operating in that same space in ways we haven't had to previously consider. None of us currently in uniform, as I said, and doubtful as I look out here, anybody in the audience has ever had to contend with contested strategic or contested operational environments. We've had unfettered access to and within the global commons since the end of World War II. We could transport whatever we wanted, wherever we wanted, and we did it without fear of losing that cargo or losing the platform. We could set up at a benign port or airfield and operate without any real threat. We had the occasional missile that might come in, or the occasional little local attack that would come in, but really since the end of the Second World War, we haven't had to really concern ourselves with existential threats to the strategic and operational movements. Those days in the Pacific fight and modern fight, those are over. And we're starting to get a sense for what this means out in the Red Sea. Our naval forces are contending with Houthi attacks on a recurring basis. And I'm not here to minimize those attacks, but let's keep them in perspective. Those attacks against our naval forces out there are coming from a third world nation, a developing country. Yemen's economy is ranks 187th globally, 187th out of 195. If Yemen was one of our U.S. states, they'd be dead last in nominal GDP. So I say that because their economy can hardly be credited with fueling some kind of Yemeni war machine. Meanwhile, we know where the Chinese are. Their economy ranks second in the world, right behind us, and it's growing. Sure, not at the same pace that it had been going for the previous 30 years, but it's still growing, which means they have the ability and, more importantly, the demonstrated will to wield that economic power far more effectively than any other adversary that we face. They're going to contest us not only in the close and maritime domain, they're going after us within our homeland. Their arsenal contains all manners of weaponry. When I say going after us, get out of your heads just kinetics, because non-kinetic means become their increasingly preferred method and increasingly effective. Through the use of cyber attacks on our logistics networks, they seek to delay and deny our ability to project forces. Cyber attacks aimed at our infrastructure. They're there to sow confusion and disrupt communities while simultaneously denying us clean water, effective sewage treatment, electricity, and other such essential services. I offer this again because a modern fight against a peer adversary, it means that our installations are going to be just as actively involved in the conflict as our divisions, our wings, and our MLGs. In fact, the fight's going to probably start at our installations. It's in our infrastructure. We're going to see attacks there, again, like we haven't seen in both scale and scope. These attacks, they're most certainly going to commence with non-kinetic events. But don't think for a second that a peer is going to necessarily shy away from the use of a kinetic strike if the fight and conflict starts to progress and protract. The reality is we're not only going to find ourselves fighting from our bases. In many cases, we're going to be fighting for our bases. Now, all that said, I just gave you the scary China brief, as we used to call it. We'd still kick their ass. There's no doubt in my mind. We'd still win, but it's going to be a tough, tough fight. And we need industry to help us make this as unfair a fight as possible. Look, the Chinese aren't 10 feet tall, despite what you just heard me say, but they're not 3 feet tall. And we underestimate their capabilities at our peril. In other words, I got to tell you, we cannot afford to be caught unprepared. Now, look, nobody of sane mind wants this fight. That's why the number one mission of the military in this fight is deterrence. We have to do whatever we can to prevent that fight, and that means putting forward a combat credible force that causes Xi to open his window and say, we ain't doing it today. But Mission 1 Alpha, in the event of deterrence failures to prevail in conflict, some of you have heard me say this before, the American people aren't paying us to fight. They're paying us to win, and they expect us to win. Our actions and preparation need to be conducted with that thought in mind. And we have to do all we can to deter and prevent that fight from happening. But if it does, we got to win. So I believe that a war with China is going to create the requirement for something we haven't seen in a while. That's a whole society fight. Unlike the recently conducted desert wars, Americans aren't going to have the luxury of being able to, trying to think what the phrase was, go to the mall while her military is off fighting our nation's fights. This is a true all-hands-on-deck approach, again, in a manner unlike most of us and most of our fellow citizens have ever had to experience. So with that said, I think we got to do everything we can together with the military industry to set that as quickly and as comprehensively as possible. The reality of today's contested strategic and operational space means, look, we run a very real risk that if we're not there at the initiation of conflict, we're not going to get there, at least not on the timeline that we want, which really reinforces the requirement to set that theater accordingly. We got to posture truly credible force, truly credible combat capability as far forward as possible to both deter and prevail in the event that deterrence failure occurs. Because remember, deterrence is a two-way street, and so much of it hinges on psychological action. So that, to that end, I've set out 3 enduring priorities. I intend to retain my focus throughout my tenure here at INL, as long as I have the privilege of being able to have this spot. Now, none of these are going to be a surprise to you. In fact, many of you helped me develop these. I discussed them with you, and you helped get us on a path to where we're going to be able to deliver them. They're equally weighted in importance and equally weighted in focus. I did that deliberately because there's no direct or implied priority within the 3, because I can envision all 3 of these serving as kind of the INL family's, I call it the collective North Star, that I'll endure throughout the time I'm able to be in this great billet. The 3 are simple. I want to accelerate the delivery of Barracks 2030, principal strategic imperative of our Corps. I got to accelerate the delivery of logistics capability as a critical enabler of force design, and we've got to institutionalize INL's role in the joint fight. That fight kicks off tonight. What is it that INL does from the very moment that the fight starts? So let's talk Barracks 2030 first, and I do that because the Commandant's identified it as his top funding priority, and that which interests my boss fascinates me. But in all seriousness, I say that our commitment to barracks, really, you think about it, it's perhaps the most visible day-to-day demonstration of the leadership's commitment to the well-being of Marines, which is why Barracks 2030, that plan is our service's most, I'd say it's our most consequential infrastructure investment plan of its kind to date. The modernization of our barracks, it's got to be a pillar of force design and modernization, and it directly contributes to our force's readiness, particularly our ability to recruit and retain a team. Our Corps requires barracks where Marines can rest, where they can refit, they get ready for the next day's fight. Modernizing our barracks too frequently gets cast off as a quality of life issue. It isn't. It is far more a force readiness issue, and it's one which we got to remain attuned. We've got to accelerate delivery of logistics lethality to the operating forces, enabling force design, which in turn ensures that we execute the fundamental objective that we have as a service headquarters, and that's to provide Marine forces that optimize the warfighting capability and effectiveness of the combatant commander. Goldwater and Nichols made our jobs easy. We know what the priority is. Everything else is mildly interesting to me about delivering that warfighting capability and effectiveness to the combatant commander. This feeds directly into institutionalizing, I think, how INL fits into the joint fight. I took with me from INDOPACOM, I freely admit I stole it from there, the mantra that we're going to think, act, and operate differently. And we're going to do that so that we deliver positional advantage in support of these requirements. We've got to develop production capacity at scale. We've got to be clever in our approach to gain capability in a fiscal environment wrought with these continuing resolutions. We're going to have these continuing resolutions stand in our face. We either sit there and wring our hands about it or figure out how to advance our warfighting requirements. We got to harness predictive logistics. I got to balance the push and pull of sustainment requirements and ensure delivery where it's most needed, and minimize the vulnerabilities of the forces operating there. We got to develop further and integrate emerging technology. We need to do so much more, as the folks at ILB heard today, with additive and advanced manufacturing. We got to enable Marines to produce routinely just about all of their sustainment needs as far forward as possible. We got to harness machine learning. We got to take those tools and develop algorithms designed to let us dominate operational tempo and give us, again, that decided advantage over our adversaries. We need industry to accelerate the realization of quantum computing so we can optimize the strength of our data encryption, which will enable us to operate on those vulnerable networks I talked about earlier without real concern of enemy exploitation. In the pursuit of establishing that role in the joint fight, I'm going to ask all of you to think about some questions that we think about pretty regularly at INL. Some of these may be familiar to you. I think I'm the only Sklenka in the GAL, so feel free to send me those notes. I'll read them, I promise you. But these are the questions that drive us where we are. First, what's the distribution model that's needed to sustain forces over those vast distances? I'm talking vast distances of the Pacific. So as we develop these capabilities for the future, we also need to be ready today. So how do we reduce risk to our forces with the sustainment capabilities that we have currently? What are the right combinations of the connectors, both autonomous and semi-autonomous, that deliver sustainment to our forces in the reality, again, of a contested environment? And equally importantly, from where do we source them? You know, we talk about LSM, we talk about the bridging solution also. What happens if something happens today? What do our forces out there use today to talk about intra-theater surface lift? What's the best way to organize logistics capability in the enterprise to meet the requirements of our operating forces? Does the LCE, as it is currently constructed, optimize readiness across the Marine Air Ground Task Force? I say that like that because we discussed that a bit in our IBL. The Commandant told me a couple years ago when we first embarked on force design that the only thing that's 100% accurate about force design is that it's not 100% accurate. And so that to me is the strength of a leader, to understand that we have to be able to grow up. And that growth and develop is going to require us, I think, to relook at some of the organizational structures that we have. How do we better integrate the installations in support of the operating forces? I think this is important, I mentioned earlier, because in the age of modern warfare against a peer threat, our bases and stations are no longer these administrative garrison sanctuaries that they used to be. They're going to be where our forces not just aggregate and from where they're going to project combat power, they're going to be engaged in a fight. These bases and installations are the foundations of power projection. They're the places against which conflict will most likely be initiated. And this is where we're going to incur some adversarial attacks. There's no doubt in my mind. In Iraq and Afghanistan, our expeditionary medical support and concepts, those teams, God, they performed absolute miracles. But given the much more highly charged, operationally contested environment and vast distances in the Pacific, what's the right model of health service out there for our forces? How do we ensure that we provide our Marines and sailors the proper care that we provide or that we owe them in that environment? We spend a whole lot of time talking about maintenance of gear and equipment. We need to spend even more time talking about the maintenance and care of the Marines and sailors who are in that fight. And what can we do today to deliver that medical support to our force needs quicker? And finally, look, I think it's essential that we understand how we fit into the greater Joint Force construct. The Corps, our Corps and our overarching INL enterprise, it requires a true understanding of the Joint Distribution Model. I'm talking everything from DLA to Untitled Command, how the Army Sustainment Brigades work, and the various naval task forces that we've got available. And we have to have that understanding because when we fight, we're going to do so as part of a joint force. That's reality. And as joint logisticians, we have to thoroughly understand not just the joint logistics enterprise, but as I said earlier, we got to understand the joint warfighting constructs of how we fit in the framework. And look, I know I covered a whole lot this evening. I'm going to leave you with this. Like our awardees, your Marines, our Marines, are doing great things every day in support of our nation. But we cannot rest on our laurels. We're only as good as the next fight. We know that. And there remains a whole lot to get ready for that next one. Challenges are great, but we also know that so is our resolve. And I don't say this lightly. Logistics drives strategy, and it wins wars. I say that not just as a career logistician. I say that as someone who has played the J5 role. It's not a throwaway line. It's not a bumper sticker. This is reality. The nice thing in all this, though, is I need you to really grasp and understand this. Your work, your commitment, your focus, it all directly results in our nation's ability to drive that strategy, to ensure deterrence, and if necessary, to prevail. Thanks a lot. Semper Fidelis.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, it is with sincere pleasure that we get to recognize the achievements of the Marine Corps' outstanding active and civilian Marines, sailors, and organizations across the installations and logistics enterprise. The first presentation of the evening is the Marine Corps Civilian Logistician of the Year. This is the second year that the name of this award honors and commemorates the memory of Mr. Nicholas M. Linkowitz, who passed away in January of 2023. After serving for 10 years as an active duty Marine, Mr. Linkowitz became a federal servant stationed at Headquarters Marine Corps Installations and Logistics, where he worked until he retired in 2018. Over 44 years, Mr. Linkowitz had a hand in almost every significant Marine Corps warfighting development from the mid-'80s through the 2010s. Mr. Linkowitz's career left an indelible mark of mentorship and professionalism on the INL team and can be summarized by the mantra, do as much as you can for as many people as you can. The sponsor for the Civilian Logistician of the Year is Google Cloud. Google Cloud supports the critical missions of our military and national security personnel around the world by providing them with the most secure, reliable, innovative cloud solutions. We'd like to invite Mr. Kevin Mulligan from Google Cloud to assist us in presenting the award. All right. The Marine Corps Civilian of the Year is Ms. Karen M. Clark. Ms. Clark serves as the storage branch head for 2nd Force Storage Battalion, Marine Force Storage Command. She implemented internal control procedures to ensure 100% audit accountability of over $811 million of equipment and inventory, representing the largest successful Marine Corps audit entity to date. She worked with Marine Corps Logistics Command and industry partners to incorporate her procedures into testing the Marine Corps Smart Warehouse capability. Please join me in a round of applause. Next, I would like to present the Marine Corps Installations Command Civilian of the Year, sponsored by Marine Federal Credit Union. Marine Federal Credit Union is committed to serving communities of Marine Corps installations. Our employees understand the needs of military life and apply that to being members financially. The Marine Corps Installations Command Civilian of the Year is Mr. George E. Berger. Mr. Berger served as the Emergency Dispatch Services Program Manager and Acting Emergency Management Branch Head for Marine Corps Installations Command G3. Mr. is responsible for all administrative, operational, and planning facets of the EDS program, using risk management strategies, tools, and resources to accomplish the mission and goals of MCI-COM. He participates in all major decisions involving emergency dispatch and develops Marine Corps and Marine Corps Installations Command policy, determines public safety communication capability requirements, and assists in fiscal resource allocation and personnel management. Please join me in a round of applause for Mr. Berger. The next award presentation is the Marine Corps Enlisted Logistician of the Year by Oracle. Oracle supports the Marine Corps logistics community with worldwide informational technology solutions to leverage uniform logistics capabilities. And we'd like to invite Ms. Tamara Greenspan from Oracle to the stage to assist in presenting the award. The Marine Corps Enlisted Logistician of the Year is Gunnery Sergeant Cameron L. Rogers, who served as Truck Master, Distribution Company, Combat Logistics Battalion 6, Combat Logistics Regiment 2. Operating in Norway, he led and supervised 9 multinational port operations groups and intra-theater movements in support of Nordic Response 2024, generating operational tempo for the Marine Air Ground Task Force and Land Component Command and the transport of over 320 principal end items. His technical acumen and keen oversight generated new distribution capabilities for the service and advanced force design logistics lines of effort with regard to littoral operations in a contested environment. Next, we will recognize the Marine Corps Installations Command Enlisted Marine of the Year. This award is sponsored by MSC Industrial Supply, a leading North American distributor of metalworking and maintenance, repair, and operations products and services. And we'd like to invite Mr. Reg Rowland from MSC Industrial Supply to the stage, if you're here, sir. The Marine Corps Installations Command Enlisted Marine of the Year is Staff Sergeant Marcellus D. Dixon. Staff Sergeant Dixon managed multiple roles, including serving inaugural installation legal chief and unit family readiness coordinator. His insight was crucial in defining roles and responsibilities within the broader Marine Corps base Camp Blaz command structure and enhancing overall readiness among multiple legal branches on the island. Additionally, he provided over 180 hours of personal service in support of community service initiatives. Next, we'll recognize the Marine Corps Logistics Small Unit of the Year. This award is sponsored by Targeted Approach, a small business which provides support to the Marine Corps Logistics and Supply Chain Strategic Analysis. Mr. A.J. Bishop from Targeted Approach, if you'd like to join us on the stage. The Marine Corps Logistics Small Unit of the Year is Logistics Support Team C, Marine Special Operations Company, 1st Marine Raider Battalion, Marine Raider Regiment, Marine Forces Special Operations Command. They led the Marine Special Operating Company's force deployment, preparation, and embarkation, facilitating inter-theater movement of 100 personnel, 26 containers. Assuming all remote air cell responsibilities, they coordinated support for 200 airlift missions throughout their area of operations. The team of 11 Marines demonstrated unwavering dedication, innovative problem-solving, and work ethic in support of Marine Special Operations Company C's high-tempo pre-deployment training program and subsequent deployment. Congratulations to LSTC. Our next award is Marine Corps Installations Excellence Award Air Station. This award is supported by Cherokee Federal. Cherokee Federal is a team of trusted government contracting professionals capable of building innovative solutions to solve complex problems. We operate globally, addressing issues in immigration, national security and intelligence, cybersecurity, healthcare and logistics, as well as construction management and engineering and manufacturing. Our business serves the Cherokee Nation tribe with 100% of our profits dedicated to building a brighter future for tribal citizens. We'd like to invite Mr. Dan Guinan from Cherokee Federal to help present this award. Marine Corps Installations Excellence Award Air Station is Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, North Carolina, Marine Corps Installations East. During 2024, Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point demonstrated exceptional performance evidenced by transformative facility investments, including a $53 million F-35 simulator facility, a $208 million F-35 maintenance hangar, and a $57.8 million fitness center. As the Marine Corps' sole 24/7 air station, Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point also represented a paragon of excellence through their exceptional training facilities, range complexes, and total installations management. Round of applause for Cherry Point. We'll now present the Marine Corps Large Logistics Unit of the Year. This award is supported by Knowledge Management, Inc. Knowledge Management, Inc. is a minority-owned small business enterprise specializing in the areas of logistics, enterprise information technology solutions, financial management, intelligence analysis and threat assessment, data analytics, operations research, cyber, and AI. Knowledge Management, Inc. is represented tonight by Mr. Mark Bradshaw and Mr. Larry Posey, who we'd like to invite to the stage. The Marine Corps Large Logistics Unit of the Year is Combat Logistics Battalion 15, 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, 1 Marine Expeditionary Force. During FY24, the unit embarked across 3 vessels within the Amphibious Ready Group and performed admirably in complex and uncertain situations. This facilitated disaggregated maritime operations when all 3 ships deployed and redeployed on different timelines, preventing mutual support. Over the course of their deployment, the team effectively participated in 19 major operations, activities, investments, and other training evolutions in 8 different countries. And I believe we have Captain Matthew Ahern here to accept the award. Round of applause.
You gotta kiss your grandma.
The next award is the Marine Corps Installations Excellence Award, Ground Installation. This award is sponsored by Dominion Energy. Dominion Energy is committed to serving our customers and the communities where we all live and work. Just like those we honor this evening, we take our mission very seriously and are dedicated to delivering reliable, clean energy and protecting the environment. We'd like to invite Mr. Drew Warren from Dominion Energy to the stage. The Marine Corps Installations Excellence Award for Ground Installation is Marine Corps Base, Camp Pendleton, California, Marine Corps Installations West. Managing a vast network of over 112,000 acres worth of facility areas during FY24, Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton hosted over 75,000 training events and hosted dozens of tenant commands. Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton's innovative spirit and superior oversight of high-impact exercises and preparations for operational deployments set the standard for others to follow. And here to receive that award is Miss Isis Sammer from representing Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. Go ahead and please join me in a round of applause.
Just be careful. That's extremely. Sure you know that.
Our next award is the Marine Corps Logistics Organization of the Year for Innovation. This award is sponsored by Anglicotech. Anglicotech supports smart, secure, and resilient supply chains for national defense, and I believe we have Mr. David Cooper. The Marine Corps Logistics Organization of the Year for Innovation is 2nd Force Storage Battalion, Marine Force Storage Command, Marine Corps Logistics Command. During FY24, 2nd Force Storage Battalion successfully warehoused or stored 1/4 of all Marine Corps ground equipment and over 1/10 of Marine Corps operational supplies. Additionally, the unit successfully employed internal management and control procedures to improve independent audit accountability from 93 to 100%, for a value of over $811 million. This inventory represented the largest successful Marine Corps audit entity and directly contributed to the Marine Corps becoming the only Department of Defense organization to pass an audit. And I believe we have Lieutenant Colonel Timothy Fretwell representing 2nd Force Storage Command. Thank you, sir. Round of applause for 2nd Force Storage Command. Our next award is the Marine Corps Installations Command Officer of the Year. This award is sponsored by CACI. CACI modernizes, implements, and supports the supply chain systems the Marine Corps relies on to be mission ready and was a key part in supporting the Marine Corps' achievement of the first DoD's Clean Audit Opinion. CACI delivers innovation at the speed of mission. We'd like to invite Mr. James Norcross from CACI. Thank you, sir. The Marine Corps Installations Command Officer of the Year is Commander Calvin Warren, Public Works Officer, Marine Corps Installations National Capital Region, Marine Corps Base Quantico. Commander Calvin Warren demonstrated outstanding leadership while delivering critical infrastructure improvements to Marines, civilians, and sailors of Marine Corps Base Quantico. His technical acumen at construction and demolition projects and facilities master planning provided maintenance and upkeep for over 2,100 facilities while managing a $114 million construction portfolio. He ensured Marine Corps Base Quantico Public Works Branch operated as a proactive, mission-oriented team while meeting or exceeding the Marine Corps energy conservation goals. He has left a positive, lasting legacy on facilities modernization and both the personnel and procedures that ensure their implementation. Round of applause for Commander Warren. Ladies and gentlemen, our final award of the evening is the First Lieutenant Travis Mannion Award. This award recognizes the Marine Corps Logistics Officer of the Year, named in honor of First Lieutenant Travis Mannion, who gallantly gave his life in service to his country during Operation Iraqi Freedom. On April 29, 2007, First Lieutenant Mannion and his fellow Marines were ambushed while searching a suspected insurgent house. As he led the counterattack against the enemy forces, Travis was fatally wounded by an enemy sniper while aiding and drawing fire away from his wounded teammates. His courageous acts allowed every member of his patrol to survive. For his actions, Travis was awarded the Silver Star and Bronze Star with Valor and immortalized the words, "If not me, then who?" We'd like to invite Miss Ryan Mannion Borek and Travis Mannion's Gold Star sister and CEO of the Mannion Foundation to the stage. The First Lieutenant Travis Mannion Award is sponsored by V2X and Raytheon and RTX Business. V2X transforms operations and sustainment for government and commercial clients worldwide through operational support services, training, and converged environments to create physical and digital infrastructures. Raytheon has developed and continues to advance a portfolio of sensors, command and control systems, and effectors designed to detect and defeat complex threats across the stage. I believe we have Lieutenant Colonel retired Jeff Spites representing Raytheon and Mr. Greg Fritsch from V2X. Gentlemen. This year's First Lieutenant Travis Mannion Officer of the Year is Captain Samantha M. Donatelli, Logistics Officer, Battalion Landing Team 1-8, 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit. Captain Donatelli provided point-of-impact leadership while planning, coordinating, and directing embarkation and logistics actions for 2 pre-deployment training events, 2 at-sea periods, and 2 multinational and bilateral exercises. Her team-building proficiency enhanced relations with our partners and our Northern Atlantic Treaty Organization allies. Her contributions ensured the transport and embarkation of 630 pieces of rolling stock, 75 containers across the amphibious ready shipping, and reflected great credit upon her. Please join me in a round of applause for Captain Donatelli. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the awards presentation portion of the evening. Would you please join me in a final round of applause for all our awards recipients? Thank you all for attending and for the sponsors' support. Jody, sir, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Major Fitzgerald. Sam is about 2 months from transitioning out of the Marine Corps, so he was on stage today to try to get a job from you guys. So anybody that's interested, Sam's the guy. So Sam, thank you so much for all you do. So, ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of final words here tonight. Again, thank you to all of you that are gathered here tonight. I'd like to personally thank General Skalenka again. Your words, although sobering, landed and have impact. And so thank you so much. There's a reason for all of our sense of urgency. So thank you so much for that. I want to thank the lawyers that cleared the awards because, they, by no means would they have us endorse any of this business. But so thank you so much. And then also to all of you, thank you for joining us tonight. I wish you all Godspeed, Semper Fidelis, and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.